everyone. Hello. Welcome to The Upside with the Fourth Floor. My name is Sarah Feingold, and I'm a co-founder of the Fourth Floor. Women have a hard time getting board seats. Women have a hard time raising money to scale their companies. The Fourth Floor brings vetted female founders and professionals together so we can increase the number of women on boards, be more competitive fundraisers, and create wealth. And the power is at the top, and we're going to claim that. Please check out our website, thefourthfloor.co, for more information about membership and events and to join our mailing list. And if you see us on LinkedIn, if you could give us a heart or give us a comment, it really helps with the algorithm. Let's fight that algorithm. And so without further ado, we're talking with Monica Blacker as part of our series, The Upside. These are conversations about a major crisis, which is COVID, but there are a lot of major crises that are coming at us right now, but we're looking at COVID, can reorder society and how we as a community can harness and promote the better. And today we are talking about business development and building your battalion. We all need a battalion. That's what we're here for, to move forward. So thank you so much, Monica, for joining us. I would love it if you would introduce yourself and tell us your story.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I actually live in Dallas, Texas, but I am in Dripping Springs, Texas on a bit of a staycation, which is outside of Austin, for those of you not familiar with Texas. And I was a restructuring or a bankruptcy lawyer for 22 years. I worked in big law here in Texas my whole career. And about 3 years ago, realized that that wasn't really my passion, and that my passion lies with helping women and people of color be more successful in their business organizations. So I started a business called BAX Advisors, which stands for, I can probably say the real name of this group, actually stands for Badass Women, X being the female chromosome. And really focused on how I could help women rise up within their organizations, and even more importantly, make sure that they're taking all the women they can with them. For those of you who don't know me, I practice what I preach. I make sure I always hire women whenever I can. My first choice is always give me a woman of color. And then if I can't find that, then a woman, and then last chance, my last choice is always a white male. So I do really believe it. I practice what I preach, and this is a passion project for me. And I really feel strongly about that. As women, we need to, as Sarah said, grab the gold, grab the coin, and become successful so that we can help each other.
Thank you so much, Monica. And we're going to be talking about business development, and I would love to know your theory on the best business development tactics. How can we grab that gold and get some more business?
So for a lot of people, business development is something really scary. They're not really comfortable with, they feel like it's too selly. They're not comfortable making the ask. And from my theory, business development really comes down to one simple thing, which is people like to do business with people they like and trust. It's very simple. They want to do business with people they like and trust. And so it's all about building relationships with people. As women, a lot of times we really struggle with letting go. We don't like to say no. We keep pushing forward on something, even when it's a bit of a dead end. You feel like you're pounding your head against the desk. And what I say is, if you can't come up with a connection with the person you're doing business with, then even if you get that one deal, the first deal, maybe even a second deal, there's going to be someone that comes behind you who makes a connection, and they're going to dump you. So at some point, you just might have to say, this isn't my person, right? This isn't my relationship. And so you really want to move away from this kind of, what, as in Texas, we would say a shotgun or, scatter approach, and become much more narrow in building your relationships. And it's hard because it feels, it's stressful to stop trying to get someone to help you or trying to build this relationship. but you really should focus on the ones that work.
And how do you focus on the ones that work, and how do you know that something is working? I know for me personally, sometimes I'm annoying and I keep trying to get something and maybe it won't work. So how do you know when to just let it go, and how do you know when to keep pushing?
So that's hard. That's hard for women too. I think women give up earlier than they probably should generally, in the we take on this like he doesn't like me or she doesn't like me because she's not returning my emails, or because I've asked her to coffee and she said no 3 times. So there's a couple just statistics that I think help with that. One is that it will take 7 to 9 interactions with someone before they give you new business. So most of us are good like through 1, 2, 3, right? You know, you've had a coffee, you've maybe gone to a sporting event, you've done whatever with them, and then the 4 or 5 is where it starts to feel weird, right? You don't feel like asking again. So if you know going into it that it's going to take somewhere in the 7 to 9, you can kind of push through that a little bit better. And also realizing that it really takes a year to build that relationship for most people. So, you know, everyone on this call probably has one or 2 instances, or they know someone who's gotten new business or gotten a board seat or something from someone they just met. I mean, it does happen, right? But the averages are that it's 7 to 9 touches and a year time.
And at every one of these touches, so 7 to 9 seems like a lot to me because I don't have patience for 7 to 9, but I'm going to, now that I know that data. On every single one of these touches, do you come out and ask for the business, or is it just, no? Tell me.
So the 7 to 9 doesn't have to be, they don't always have to be big grand gestures as well. So I think that's another thing that we get bogged down in, that you have to do something, you have to see them. I mean, it could be sending an article. It could be, hey, I know this is an issue for your whatever industry you're in, and I saw this article. It could be, hey, my firm or my organization is having an event. Here's an invitation. So it doesn't have to be 7 to 9 dinners. It can be smaller events so that you don't have to kind of be in front of their face. I wouldn't ask for the business probably until somewhere in the 6, 7, 8, 9. I think by then you should have a feel for whether this person is going to be someone who's going to give you business. And like I said, if you can't come up with something you have in common, and it could be something as bizarre as, you know, you both, I mean, this isn't bizarre, but like you both love champagne, or this person's going to Rome, not this summer, but some other time, right? Like this is the COVID, this throws some of these things obviously out the window. But being able to say, oh, you know, well, I went to Rome and this was my favorite restaurant. Because for me, the way I look at these interactions is if you leave an interaction with someone without any reason to follow up, it was a failed interaction. So, and I don't mean like you got their business card and then you stack a bunch of business cards on your desk and then like they go in the drawer and then next time you move, they go in the trash. I mean a real reason to follow up. So my whole thing, which we will probably get into, is that
and just for some clarification, what's a real reason to follow up?
So anything other than, hey, I met you at this event and I thought you'd be nice to talk to. So leaving with having talked to them with something to follow up on, whether it's you need to make an introduction to someone for them, or something you can do for them, something they can do for you. But if you talk to someone for, let's say, 5 minutes at a cocktail party, and when you walk away, you don't have anything else to say to them, like nothing to exchange, then I think that's a failed interaction. You know, we all were taught like to go to a conference or to an event, collect as many business cards as possible, and that was success. But I think we really have to look at it differently, because if you go back to my premise of people do business with people they like and trust, this is more about narrowing and having deeper relationships than having, 10,000 people that are on your listserv that you don't have anything in common with.
I like that concept of really like narrowing down who your people are and trying to cultivate relationships in a genuine way with them, and understanding that you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea or trip to Rome or whatever that is.
Right.
In the pandemic, does that create a unique opportunity to enhance relationships? How are you seeing relationships being built now?
So I think it is, this is actually part of probably what I would say my quote upside to this pandemic is the ability to deepen relationships with people. Because even though you can't be face to face with them, or you may not be able to meet and have dinner, there are in some ways a lot less distractions, right? Like we don't have theater tickets or sporting tickets or 10 other things that we're supposed to be doing. We may be carrying a very difficult mommy load of also educating your children and, feeding people now 3 meals a day in your house when you're used to only having to cook one. But if you work on some structure and you have the opportunity to really have these deeper, more meaningful contacts through whether it's Zoom or FaceTime or, Microsoft meetings. I mean, I would give this example. My birthday was like 10 days ago. And, I was so bummed, right? COVID birthday. I love to celebrate my birthday with grand things. I like to go places. And I was really kind of bummed about it. And as my birthday happened, I said it was actually one of the best birthdays I'd ever had, because I had this Zoom call with women from all aspects of my life that someone set up. And without the pandemic, there's no way we would have been able to get like 30 women on a call on a Tuesday night to like spend 45 minutes just checking in. And so I think the pandemic has created some ability to do that, and where you're not rushing from, I don't know about you, but I've had lots of times in my life where I've got 3 events in one night, right? And you are already out the door of event number 1 when you show up, because you got to get to number 2. You spend your whole day being late or, earlier than late, and you don't get to focus in a way that I think that the pandemic allows us to create those relationships.
I mean, right now, you're in Texas, I'm in New York, and somehow we're in the same room. So something's happening. You mentioned something in that answer that I wanted to dive in a little bit. You were saying carve out time or something along those lines. Do you, and I like having real actionable plans, and the 7 to 9 interactions has like really exploded my brain. But do you have like time set aside every day for business development? Is this something that you have in your calendar?
So I do. I have a running calendar entry that pops up on my calendar every day at 11 a.m. that has a list of all the things that I need to be doing. I'll be honest, some days I just dismiss it and move on, right? Like it's not going to happen today. Other days it's great. It's a reminder for me. I think also just in this time where, every day feels like Monday and every day feels like Saturday. Like I definitely do things at weird, maybe off, that would have been more off times, late night calls. I do a call with a friend who lives in Belgium. We do it on Saturdays at like 2:00 my time, which normally I probably wouldn't have been able to do because there would have been a soccer game or a, birthday party or all these things that aren't happening that have freed up time in some ways. I get it. A lot of us feel like we're super overwhelmed. I usually am a good sleeper and I can't sleep during the pandemic. So that might be giving me more time, but I feel like there is an opportunity to use time in a different way because you're not pulled in so many directions.
Right. And if you're not doing business development during this time, is there anything else you could suggest to best position yourself for the emergence when they finally open the doors and we can see each other?
Right. So, I mean, I wouldn't tell anyone that they have to learn how to become like a French pastry baker, or I see all over the internet people making sourdough bread. But I do think there are things you can do to position yourself right now. So if you're a lawyer, or an accountant, and you have continuing education requirements, I feel like now is a great time to get that, because everyone is offering COVID-related seminars that are free, but you can get your credit, and they're usually, either available live or you can watch them. I am now like 2 years ahead on my continuing legal education because literally through the Dallas bar or the Texas bar or something, every day at lunch, at 12 o'clock, there's something you could watch. And ethics are always the really hard ones to get for us, professional responsibility. So doing things like that, co-authoring, if you want to publish something, co-authoring. This is a time to update your LinkedIn profile, which, these things that we know we should be doing, but when we're really busy with our everyday jobs, fall to the bottom of the list. And I get it. Business development falls to the bottom of the list when you're super busy. But then the problem is, where's your pipeline when you're no longer so busy? So doing those kind of things, making sure that, if you have a firm bio, that's been updated, digging into if there's networks that you want to be involved in, this is the time. People are looking for content. So if you like presenting or writing, like I said, this is a great time to do it. There's plenty of things to talk about, COVID now, and all the other things that are going on in the world. There's clearly lots of ramifications of that you could become a voice for. So I would definitely if you're not going to do business development, just put yourself in a position that when you're really busy again, if you're not busy now, right? If you're in an industry that's not so busy right now, the things you won't have time to do when you get busy again.
That's some great advice right there. So talk to me. So the title of this was Building Your Battalion. What is a battalion and how did you build yours? And just if anyone has questions they want to ask Monica directly, you can chat them to me privately or just put them in the chat.
So I'll have to give credit to someone else about the Building Your Battalion. I was doing a panel that was very international about what people were doing during COVID to stay relevant. And this one woman said, I'm building my battalion. And I told her I was going to steal it. And that I love the wording of that, because battalion just sounds so strong, right? And basically she was talking about building your team, because I think what we all will realize as we get older and more successful and have more things pulling at us, that without a team, you cannot be successful. There just comes a point where you cannot raise your bar anymore by yourself. There's just no more time in the day. You cannot, be getting new business or new contacts because you can't even work your own, right? And so you have to build your battalion. And this is a time to be training the women that you're trying to help, to spend time with them. Everybody's stressed. Like, I think one of the things that we do normally is when we jump on a business call, we just go straight to business, right? And I've been reading a lot of articles about how people right now need a little bit of small talk. Like, they want you to hear, like, what's going on where they live, are restaurants open? How restrictive is where you are? Are you guys seeing spikes? Are you seeing decreases? What's your government doing? How are you doing, right? And that building, again, back to building those relationships, this is the time to help, like, the younger women who don't have a structure, maybe don't already have a network, making sure that you're mentoring and sponsoring women, which are two different things. And if you don't know the difference, email me and we can talk about it. But it's very important right now to spend the time building your battalion so that when the floodgates open back up, you stand there with a strong army of women.
Yeah, I agree. And also, you know, taking care of yourself, because we are all living in such a trauma time right now. But also building your battalion is so important. And I think that that's something that we stand for at the fourth floor. We're really trying to get a battalion behind these women-owned businesses as strategic business advisors on advisory boards or the board of directors to help them scale. And some of our professionals that also helps them build their battalion as well. So I think that that's very aligned with what we're doing here. Do you have any tips about opening up new relationships or getting somebody's attention, especially today?
So I would say this is a harder, to be honest, this is a harder time to open up new relationships because it is very hard to get people's attention with all the things that are going on. So let me answer that question a little bit backwards. So what I would say about that is, for people that you already have relationships with, you need to continue to cultivate those relationships, and you need to be creative in that. You know, I have done everything from sending boxes of wine to people, and we every Thursday night at 5:30 do a wine tasting that's led by like the winemaker. I had someone send me for Mother's Day this whole bakery kit that was basically croissant dough that we made 4 different things with. There was a bottle of champagne in there, and a chef from a restaurant in Tahoe conducted our class. And it was absolutely hilarious, so much fun. The women on it, I actually didn't know 2 of them before. You know, we all drank our bottle of champagne. The chef left. We stayed on with another bottle of champagne and, you know, enjoyed company and building relationships and talking about the stress of work and what are you doing with your kids and how much it sucked for my son who's a senior in high school, this whole, you know, not graduating thing. And so really being creative in ways that you can create closeness without physical proximity. For new relationships, you've got to find a way to differentiate yourself from others. You can't just forward another, you know, finance in COVID article, because I don't know about you guys, but my email is full of it. Like every law firm I've ever dealt with is sending me some sort of COVID update every day, right? And so finding a way to differentiate yourself, I think one of the best ways to make a relationship with a new person is through someone else vouching for you. So using your network to say, hey, can you help me out here? Can you introduce me to this person via email or a Zoom call or, you know, even a text? Because the new is hard when you just get an email, right? So I would highly recommend using your team. And frankly, that's one of the best things you can be doing right now is being a connector. If you don't have anything to give right now because of whatever it is you do is, let's say it's not available, it's not open, it's not something that people are doing right now, then be a connector. Because it's great karma, right? It's good for you. It'll make you feel good. And I wholeheartedly believe that stuff comes back.
Yeah. And I just want to echo the sentiment of not just being generic. Like the number of times I've been reached out to being like, we love your firm. It's like, I don't have a firm. Like just because I'm a lawyer and you looked at me on LinkedIn, I haven't worked in a firm for a very long time. You know, if that's your business development, then that's nothing. Just being really targeted and being curious and being authentic. with your reach outs. And I really like the idea of, having your wine and making your croissants or whatever you're doing. And eventually maybe someone will, do something like that. And that's great business development. It's got to be really expensive if you're going to send that. You'll definitely get a reply if you cold, send croissant dough.
But I mean, Sarah, you and I have talked about this before, is when you're reaching out that you need to be, instead of being generic, be helpful to the person that you're reaching out to. So like, I think we use the example of someone writing you a letter of recommendation, right? Like, will you write me a letter of recommendation? Okay, I'm happy to, but you're going to have to send me a draft, right? Like, I don't know all of your history. Like, I just had someone ask me for a sorority recommendation the other day, and I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm probably fine doing that, but I don't even know who you are. Like, you're going to and let me be real clear, I am not going to sit down and go through your resume and you're this and you're that. You should draft it, and then I'll put it in my own words and I'll say what I'm comfortable saying. But like, help me help you, right? And that is really important in this day and age. Again, when people are stressed and a lot feel overwhelmed, is let me make it easier for you. How can I help you? How can I help you help me?
Right.
When I started my business, I had people say things to me like, look through my LinkedIn contacts and let me know if there's anyone you want to be introduced to. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. That's a horrible, that's horrible. I'm not going to look through your 3,000 contacts. Let's talk about what I'm trying to do and who you might know who is relevant to that. Like, I don't need 3,000 people. I need 2 people who could really help me, not 3,000 people that might be able to help me.
But Monica, that's hard. That means I'm going to have to write the recommendation. I wanted you to write it. No, I agree. Make it easy for me to say yes.
Right.
Make it easy, make it clean. So I have a question in here about using womanhood as an opportunity to connect more easily with others. For example, or are we pigeonholing ourselves as chatty or shallow? For example, I love your hair, or I'm looking for a new salon, my stylist just moved, talking about family, or how to hide your roots during quarantine, those sort of topics. What do you think about that?
I think we should use what we have. I think you have to be authentic with what you're comfortable with. But I would say most of my clients when I was practicing were men, partly just because, 80% of GCs in companies are still men. So I think but I also, there's things about women that make us better at business development, right? We can multitask, we listen, we build relationships, we want to know about your family. And I used to send my clients very targeted thank you gifts. I had a client who was the GC and wore bow ties. So I sent him a bow tie from my favorite place in New Orleans where the 2 sides are different. So when you tie it, it looks like really cool. He also was a hunter. He was going bear hunting in Alaska. I sent him hand warmers from like Dick's Sporting Goods. I think they cost $12, right? Like, it doesn't have to be a huge grand gesture. And I think that's part of where we get stuck. We're looking for something so perfect that it just falls by the wayside, or, because there's a couple things that you can do that don't cost anything that are super great. Saying thank you, being gracious, gratitude, telling them that someone did a great job for them, like using that as a way to help the people that work with you as well as give them exposure. There's just, I don't want to say that we shouldn't be womanly or girly in business development. I just think that we've got to use what we use. And so some men that won't work for, and again, it goes back to, if you can't build a relationship with them, then they're not going to be your client forever. They might give you a deal, but what's going to happen if they're, let's just pick on a guy. They're super guy-like. They only want to talk about, football, and that's not your thing. What's going to happen is there's going to be someone who does what you do, who can talk that talk with them and will become their best buddy and will become who they're going to give work to, or, trade favors with, build relationships with. And so if it doesn't work, being who you are doesn't work, then that's probably not the best relationship for you.
I want to echo everything you're saying, and I know I'm supposed to be interviewing you, but I'd love to add on to this.
Go for it.
One thing that I suggest people doing when they're doing business development or trying to get a client is make a Google alert for these clients that you want to see what's happening. And then, if you are going to then send them information about maybe a topic that you saw come up in the Google alert that could help them or keep them top of mind. I'm 100% sure that some of the outside counsel that I used when I was in-house was doing that. And it was really helpful to me when something was going on and they'd send me something to really take away a problem that I had. And then the second thing I wanted to mention is one of my favorite outside counsel did something that was really valuable to me. I'm a public speaker. I speak every once in a while. And he reached out to me and said, would you want to speak on a panel at South by Southwest? Let's pitch it together. So it's like this outside counsel knows me as a person and some of my goals in life, and he put that out there. So I thought that was really like knowing me as a person and my company that I work for and helping me look good. So anyway, those are some of the suggestions that I have too. Obviously try to get your clients into South by Southwest.
That's a good one. Although was canceled this year, and they're saying that they didn't have insurance and they might never be able to do South by Southwest again.
It's awful.
But I want to tag on to your Google alert. If you don't have a Google alert on your own name and the company you work for, then you absolutely are missing the ball. Because the worst thing that can happen is when someone calls you and says, hey, I saw, that fourth floor was in the news because they brought in a huge, whatever, right? They put two people together and now their company has gone through the roof. And you don't know anything about it. So set a Google alert for your personal name and your company name.
And your competitors.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about grit. I'd love to hear what you think about grit.
I think as women, we have to have a lot of grit, and that we often look down on that we don't embrace the fact that what most of us do is still in a very white male dominated field, and that is sometimes painful and difficult, and that you feel like on certain days you are just banging your head against the desk. Like, is this going to get better? When some article comes out that says, there are more CEOs in Fortune 500 named John than there are women. And you're like, how is this still happening, right? That grit is what gets us through that, right? Hard work, knowing that we can do this. I truly believe that women have the ability to be better business developers than men because of our relationship building skills and because of our ability to multitask. And, but it takes grit. It isn't fun. Like you said, 7 to 9, that sounds horrible, right? I don't want to do more than like 3 or 4. I just want them to give me the business after that. So, definitely you have to just buck up. And if you don't have grit yourself, like if you are hard on yourself, like so many of us are, you need to have, as part of your battalion, someone who's your cheerleader, someone who will tell you, no matter what you do, that you're the best, right? That you can always do it, that you remind you of the the time that the GC sent you flowers because you did such a great job, or the time you brought in this investor, 10 years ago, but you've forgotten because, we're women and we are hard on ourselves. But making sure that you have someone in your battalion who will remind you of your greatness. I tell women they should keep a file of their greatness, whether it's on their phone or in an email folder that I call the glory file. That's basically the time, every time someone says something nice to you, so that you can go back and look at it on the days that don't go so well, or the day that, you don't get the investor, or you lose your hearing, or, someone says no to you and you feel like you're never going to be successful, that you have this to look back on. But making sure you have people, men and women, it doesn't have to just be women in your battalion, who are telling you, hey, you're awesome. Like, these people love you. People, enjoy being around you. Look at where you started and how you've gotten here.
I love that. So one final question, then I think we have an activity. Do we have an activity?
We can have an activity, yes.
Do we want an activity? We should do an activity.
Okay, well, we're gonna do a business development activity.
Okay, it's gonna
All
be
right.
amazing. But my last question is, do you have any tips for turning a no into a yes, or at least a maybe?
So I guess it depends on what followed the no, right? So if it's no, your organization isn't on our approved list, right? Or no, we don't do business with someone who makes less than 5 million, or, if there's wiggle, then I would say 100% yes. And that you should listen to very carefully what the words after no were, because that's going to be your opportunity to make change. I think sometimes no is really a no. And that means stop wasting your time. The scary thing is, I hear from women a lot of times things like, I was trying to do a business meeting and the guy asked me out, but I want his business, and do you think I should talk to him again? And a lot of times I say no, because he's never going to see you as an equal or business associate. He's shown you his true colors. And sometimes you have to just see people's true colors, even though they're not always pretty. So it's hard. The no is hard. It really, for me, would depend on what came after the no.
I love that advice. Sometimes I think when I hear no, am I just being blank? And I'm like, oh, well, another no. But, I also feel like no is a gift, because at least there's no more question mark. I like listening to that after to see if there is still a path, or if you're just going to cut it off and go somewhere else. All right. What is this activity?
Wait, before we get to the activity, I was going to say, in one of my speeches, I talked to women about no being a complete sentence. And that usually gets a little bit of a laugh when you think about it. You're like, no is a complete sentence, because everything after no is what's getting you to yes. Right? So if you really mean no, this is a little off topic, but if someone asks you to do something and your answer really is no, but then you feel the need to give more information as to why it's no, they're going to take that to get you to yes. So stick with no. And I also want to remind women that when someone asks you to do something and it's 6 weeks away or 2 months away, and you say yes because it's 6 weeks away, think about that at some point it's going to be tomorrow. And if someone asked you to do it tomorrow would be no, then it should still be no. That's just a protecting your time. And that's just an extra free protecting your time tip.
You know, sometimes when I've said no lately, I've said something along the lines of, I'm ruthlessly prioritizing right now. And so the answer is no.
Yep.
And it sort of like puts it on the universe or whatever these priorities are. I'm not giving them an excuse. I'm definitely saying no, but I'm explaining myself a little bit.
So for the activity, what I really want to do is I would like it not to be me, because I would love all the other women on here, because I'm sure we have some great minds, to tell the group either something that they've done or that someone has done for them during this period that they felt like was great and helped either deepen or forge a new relationship. So if we want to take people off mute or give them the opportunity, I don't think this is a very shy group. So to let someone else throw in something that's worked for them.
I'll put something out there to start. We had a sponsor of the fourth floor who generously offered to send some care packages to some after this one meeting that we had. And I thought that was really generous and lovely, and a great way that I would like to continue doing business with this company.
All right, Wendy, are you up?
Sure. I'll come up with a personal one. We had new neighbors move in during the pandemic and hadn't met them. So we had a graduation parade for all the kids in our town, and it went by our house. And I had the opportunity across from the fence 6 feet away to introduce myself to the neighbor who is from the UK. And we were talking, and I mentioned one of the things that was so frustrating is we couldn't get any yeast because I wanted to learn how to bake bread. And the woman gave me a bottle of yeast. And then today my son actually baked bread, 2 loaves, and I brought one over to her. So it deepened a relationship.
That's
so
awesome.
That was a personal example, and it made me happy, and it really made her happy. So I thought it was great.
That's great.
Hi, this is Jessica Hernandez. So I have found during this time that I've had a lot of success with touching base with sleeping old nos. You know, I've checked in on a lot of people from my business past and my personal past, but and I've gotten 2 or 3 new hits out of that. It's like they were happy to hear my voice. It was a natural thing for me to talk about what was going on in my business at point, which had morphed from previous times when they had said no. In one instance, the guy told me he had been wanting to hire me forever, and I just had to get back on his radar. So building upon old and maybe dormant relationships has been really fruitful for me.
Yeah, that is a really great point. And one of the things that was on my list was that this is also a time to go back to people where the timing just wasn't right. There was a relationship, but maybe they've changed jobs during, since then, or they, it is all about being relevant and at someone's top of mind when they need the help, right? And so using this time to go back to some people that you really enjoyed, but for whatever reason you didn't have that business relationship at the time, and that people really are really grateful when you just check in, like, how are you doing right now? Like, is there anything that you need? Are you, is your family safe? Is everyone well? And again, it doesn't take a lot of time, effort, or money to ask those questions of anyone. So that's a great reminder, Jessica. Anyone else? I can see you, Ashley Martin.
What?
I know Ashley, so I can pick on her.
Monica is largely responsible for the reason that I am a lawyer. She was my mentor when I was a summer associate in 2004. So. And I still wouldn't miss an opportunity to hear you speak. So Let's see, what have I done for others? I've taught a friend's child Spanish for the last 2 months, 3 times a week for a couple of hours. I have sold a friend's furniture online who was stuck in San Francisco and couldn't get her stuff out of an apartment lease that was expiring. Helped a client move out because she couldn't do it on her own. A friend, but also a client.
I think the point of all of those is that you got to think a little bit outside the box, right? That the normal taking someone to Del Frisco's for dinner is not available to us right now. And frankly, I think it gives us a little bit of a leg up, right? We are more creative than having, you know, going to dinner and throwing back some whiskeys or big bottles of red wine, or, you know, God forbid, because I still know people who use strip clubs as business development. But, you know, like none of that is happening, right? And so this is the opportunity for us to be creative and really use just, you know, women are so great about bringing people together and coming up with ways to help each other, that this really is a great opportunity for us to do something that normally maybe would have seen, it may be seen as a little hokey, or who has time for that, that now we've opened those doors.
Well, I was just gonna say, I found a website, maybe some of you want to use it if you haven't seen it. I was looking to send a mailer to people, but of course nobody's in the office, because I wanted to send, like, I've been sending cards to my friends over time. Hallmark had these free cards for a while you could get. And I got the idea to send a card in an email, but I know it's very obvious when you're getting a mass mail email. So there's a website called Smilebox. I don't know if anybody's heard of it. I think I paid like $20 for a 1-month subscription. And you can create cards with or without music. And they actually have COVID cards, you know, stay at home or whatever. So I made one with a little nice message, and then individually sent them. You could copy and paste the image into the email so that it didn't show up as an attachment, which is another thing. If I have to click again, I'm not going to open it. So, and then I just kind of put in the subject line, you know, stay well or something. And it didn't take a lot of time, but I got a lot of responses because, like I said, I was able to check in with people that the only other time I talk to them is when I send them a holiday card, you know, or something out of the ordinary. And it started conversations, you know, how are you doing? How are your kids doing? Those kind of things. So it's not expensive, and it was pretty quick and easy to do. You can put in all your contacts at once and they will mail it for you, but I was very afraid to get caught in spam folders. So I thought the personal way was a little bit nicer. And then just to your point about women promoting women, I had an in-house lawyer cold call me about a case. She had some bigger firms pitching to her, and she thought, you know, I saw a woman-owned firm, how can I help? And not only did she retain me, but she took the extra step of going out to some other companies that had also been sued by the same person and recommended me. And that's the first time I've ever kind of had that woman kind of, you know, network thing happen. And it was great. So yeah, there's just little things I think are nice right now.
Yeah, I actually sent a bunch of people those Postoximeters. I know that's like so weird, but I was really freaked out about the whole thing about that people were showing up at the hospital with like 66% oxygenation, but they were walking around like normal. And so I got on Amazon and they were $29 or something. And, you know, you can just ship them out. I don't have to touch it. I don't have to go buy anything. And I sent them to some people with kind of like a funny, you know, like full of hot air type thing, but you know, knowing your audience. But there's like, what I want you to take away from this is it doesn't require a lot of money or B, a huge grand gesture. It's really like even a handwritten note, I have always said goes a really long way. You know, a handwritten thank you, a funny card that you know, I don't know about you, but I love to collect cards. And so just a card that's laying around and sending it just, hey, just thinking of you. Like, I know you're in the city, you're in New York, and at least from what we all see, it looks terrifying. Like, hope you're doing okay. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm raising my hand.
I love it.
I actually belong to a group of women designers called Women Design Network, and they all, do different products, and actually none of them have really been in the industry. They've sort of come into it, started as a side hustle or a hobby or whatever. And I've been in the fashion industry my whole career. So that's the background information. And I've been listening to a lot of webinars about trend forecasting and culture shifts and all of that comes out of my industry. So I've become the foghorn for this group of women to, tell them, I just watched The Quarantine Consumer and this is what's going to happen. And, these are the pivots that are, the messaging that you need and all of those kinds of things. So I've been drafting these emails and sending it out to this group and hoping that, they will take it in as constructive criticism and hopefully inform what they're doing and beef up their websites or, however they do their messaging or marketing to their consumers.
It sounds great. I mean, you're being helpful and trying to pull people along with you, which is what this is about for all of us as well. And I have to say, you have some amazing looking stuff behind you. It's really pretty.
I do tuxedos for women, so.
Yeah, I love the one that's, I guess, over your left shoulder, the lighter one with the dark lapels. Yes, that's beautiful.
That's pink with red satin.
Oh yeah, that's right up my alley. That's totally up my alley.
I think it's time for you to go online shopping, and we're at time. So I just wanted to thank you for coming and joining us and sharing your words of wisdom about business development and building a battalion. Thank you so much, and everyone, keep safe, keep healthy. We're living in such a traumatic time, and what we need to do is, help each other and build up each other's careers and companies so that we can make more money and be the change that needs to happen. So everyone, take care. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time, whatever that is. Bye.
Bye.